You ever feel like something's watching you, even when you know it shouldn't be possible? Down here, you learn that feeling means something. The first time I felt eyes on me through the glass, I told myself it was just pressure, the weight of the Mariana Trench pressing against the hull, pressing against my sanity. But when you're this deep, nothing is ever just pressure. Before we dive into the story, tell me from which country you're listening and what time it is there right now. There are rules, 11 of them. And everyone is the only thing standing between life and whatever stirs in the dark. I broke one once, not by choice but by hesitation. The silence that followed was worse than any scream. That's when I learned. The rules aren't guidelines. They're survival. The ocean never gives second chances. When Captain Moreau first briefed us about the descent, his voice dipped low before Rule 1. Always keep the observation lights on. At the time, I thought it was routine safety talk, but the way he avoided our eyes, even Andre's, who usually mocked superstition, made the air tighten. The descent took hours. The deeper we went, the more fragile the light felt, a trembling candle in a swallowing void. When we docked at the habitat, I expected relief. Instead, the recycled air smelled like rust and stale fear. The viewport dominated the main chamber, a circular glass face staring straight into oblivion. I told myself it was beautiful, the drifting lights, the silence. But beauty doesn't watch you back. One night the power flickered, just a second. But the dark seemed to ripple, like something vast had moved just beyond sight. When the lights returned, I could have sworn I saw it retreat. I blamed exhaustion, but deep down I knew. The light hadn't just gone out. Something had leaned in to look. Sleep never came easy after that. Every flicker felt like a held breath, every hum from the generators a heartbeat keeping something at bay. I told myself not to worry, that this was normal, but the others knew. When the lights dimmed, no one spoke. Even Andre sat stiff, pale knuckles gripping the armrest. Later in the mess hall, I asked him what he thought. He muttered, "Don't draw attention," and changed the subject, but his eyes kept flicking toward the viewport, as if the dark were listening. By the third week, I stopped pretending. I was writing in the lab when the walls groaned, a low, deliberate sound, like breath. The lights flickered again. Something massive brushed past the habitat, blocking the glow. For a heartbeat, we were swallowed. I felt it watching, not with eyes, but with intent. The power steadied. I exhaled, but the dread stayed. Those lights weren't for seeing. They were a barrier. And I realized if they ever failed, the darkness wouldn't stay patient. That night, I dreamed of two pale eyes rising from the abyss, unblinking, vast enough to drown thought itself. When I woke, sweat cold on my skin, the chamber was still half dark. I heard Andre whisper from the hall, "Did you see them too?" His face looked drained, his voice trembling around a mug of untouched coffee. "They only come close when the lights falter," he said. "That's why we don't talk about it. Talking makes you look, and looking..." He bit his lip until it bled. From then on, none of us treated the lights like machines anymore. They were life itself, and every flicker was a promise that whatever waited beyond the glass hadn't finished looking back. After that, we avoided the viewport like a curse. Even when the glow outside held steady, it felt alive, breathing with us. Still, the mind has its own gravity. The longer I resisted, the stronger the urge became. That quiet, gnawing whisper to look. Andre confessed over dinner he felt it too. He said the silence spoke if you listened long enough. A few nights later, I found him alone by the glass. His breath fogged the surface as he stared into the dark. I called his name softly, but he didn't move. I touched his shoulder. He jerked back like waking from a dream, eyes wide and wild. "They were so close," he whispered, then collapsed. After that, Captain Moreau doubled our shifts. No one was allowed alone near the viewport, but fear doesn't care about company. The lights began flickering more, short, teasing stutters. Each one stretched time until seconds felt like hours. Then came the worst. A tremor rocked the habitat. The lights flickered once, then failed. The world vanished into black. My body screamed to turn toward the glass, to see. But the rule thundered in my skull: never look directly into the viewport when the lights flicker. I clenched my eyes shut. The silence roared. I could feel something moving, brushing the outer hull like a fingertip. When the lights came back, I didn't move. I stayed frozen, afraid that even a glance would pull it back. Later, when I finally slept, I dreamed of those eyes again, closer this time, as if they'd found me even in the dark. Andre asked the next morning, "You looked, didn't you?" His voice was quiet, but the way he said it made my stomach twist. Ever since that night, I'd felt strange, as if the water had found a way inside my ears. When the lights dimmed, I began hearing faint murmurs, almost words, curling just beneath thought. The commander noticed. He avoided my eyes now. His silence said enough. I had broken the rule in spirit, and something knew it. Then the knocking began. At first, faint, 3 soft taps echoing through the habitat's bones. Everyone froze. Captain Moreau pressed a finger to his lips. "Don't move," he whispered. "Don't answer." But the knocks came again, measured, intelligent. When silence finally fell, my heart kept pounding to the same rhythm. And that night, I dreamt of answering, of pressing my hand against the glass. Days passed. The knocks returned, louder. Andre whispered that they sounded like a pattern, like words. He leaned toward the sound as if it called to him. Others did too. The commander's voice steadied us. "Pretend you're not here." Then the power died again. Everything bathed in red emergency light. The hull shook violently, the knocking turned to pounding. Andre snapped. He rushed for the comms. "They're not knocking for all of us," he screamed. "They're knocking for him." His eyes met mine, and I knew he was right. The silence afterward was worse than the sound, because silence meant it was waiting for me to answer next. After the knocking, sleep became dangerous. Every sound in the dark felt personal. I could still feel the echo inside my chest. That's when Captain Moreau reminded us of Rule 4, never swim toward a light in the darkness. We didn't understand, not until the day of the survey. We were charting minerals along the trench wall when it appeared. A glow, soft and golden, pulsing like a heartbeat deep below. It wasn't from our lamps or the drones. It felt alive. "Do you see that?" I whispered. Silence, then Andre's faint reply. "It's calling." The captain's voice snapped over comms. "Ignore it. Finish the work." But it kept pulsing. Patient. That night, I couldn't shake the image, the warmth of it, how wrong and beautiful it had looked. 2 days later, it came back. Closer. Drifting like a lantern, almost human in shape. It hovered just beyond our lights. Andre gripped my arm. "It wants us to follow," he murmured. The captain barked. "Eyes on your work." But the glow didn't fade. It lingered, swaying like it was breathing. For a moment, I felt something stir inside me. A pull so gentle, so absolute, it was almost kind. That's when I understood the rule. Some lights down here aren't meant to guide you home. They're meant to lead you away. We lost Andre 3 nights after the light returned. He said he couldn't sleep, that he kept seeing a shimmer through the viewport. At first I thought it was exhaustion. Then I saw it too. A faint, deliberate flicker, like something waving from beyond the glass. He started whispering to it. Every night, he'd stand by the viewport, muttering soft words I couldn't make out. When I tried to pull him away, he smiled faintly. "It's not dangerous, Elias. It just wants to be seen." The captain ordered him confined to quarters, but Andre escaped during the night shift. We found his suit missing, the outer hatch open. The comms picked up his voice for nearly 2 minutes after. "It's beautiful," he said once. Then silence, followed by static. When the sonar pinged again, it wasn't his voice that answered. It was the same pattern of knocks, 3 short, 2 long, echoing through the hull. I didn't sleep for days. None of us did. The captain wouldn't admit it, but we all felt it. The pressure outside had changed, heavier, hungrier. Like the water itself knew Andre was gone and wanted more. In the dark, I imagined him still out there, suspended between light and abyss, staring back at us with something else behind his eyes. The next morning, I heard it, faint from beyond the viewport. My name, it whispered softly at first. Elias. Drawn out, fragile, as if it were trying to remember how to speak. I froze, hand hovering over the control panel. The others didn't hear it, or pretended not to. That night, I stayed near the viewport. I knew it was madness, but part of me needed to know. When the lights dimmed again, the water outside shimmered faintly. Something moved within it, slow and deliberate. Then came the voice again. I'm still here. It sounded like Andre, but not quite. There was a drag to the words, like they'd traveled through miles of water and bone. I whispered back before I could stop myself. Where are you? The voice chuckled, low and wrong. Right where you left me. The captain's voice suddenly cut through the comms. Step away from the viewport. I stumbled back, heart racing. The lights flared back to full brightness and the shimmer vanished. But in the reflection, for a split second, I saw something. Andre's face, pale and twisted, pressed against the other side of the glass. Later, the captain confronted me privately. His voice shook for the first time. You've been marked, he said. Once it speaks your name, it remembers you. Don't answer again. I didn't tell him I already had. The sound started subtly, like the station itself had lungs. A faint inhale and exhale, rhythmic, impossible. Dr. Varga said it was the pressure shifting in the ducts, but I knew better. Each breath seemed to sync with mine, as if the habitat were mimicking life, or borrowing it. We tried not to talk about it, but when we sat in silence, we could all hear it. In, out, in, out. It was slow, patient, almost soothing, until it wasn't. On the fourth day, the breathing changed. It began to stutter, like it was choking. The walls trembled. The sound came closer, resonating through the metal until the floor beneath us seemed to pulse. Captain Moreau barked for a systems check. Everything read normal. But the air pressure climbed, the lights dimmed, and the oxygen filters began to hiss, the same rhythm as before. Then came the voice, merging with the breath. Let us in. We scrambled to seal the observation deck, but the air itself felt alive, pressing against us. Through the viewport, I saw shapes forming in the dark, outlines of faces pressed against the glass, lips moving with the words. Clara screamed and fled the chamber. The captain locked the doors behind us. The faces didn't follow, but the breathing didn't stop. That night, the rhythm returned inside my own chest. I realized it wasn't mimicking us. It had found its way in. And now, it was learning how to breathe. By the 6th week, half the crew refused to leave their quarters. The rest worked in silence. Conversations became whispers, glances, prayers. The ocean outside had grown darker, not absence of light, but presence of something else. When the floodlights shone into the abyss, the beams bent like they were absorbed by a living thing. The captain called a meeting. His face looked hollow. We surface tomorrow, he said, no matter the cost. But I could tell he didn't believe it. None of us did. That night, the tremor hit, harder than before. Systems screamed, alarms blaring. We sealed the lower deck, but something struck the habitat, once, twice, shaking it like a toy. Dr. Varga shouted that the sonar was reading movement, massive, slow, encircling. The hull began to groan, and a hairline crack splintered across the viewport. We stared, transfixed. The crack pulsed with faint blue light, as if the darkness was pressing its fingers through. Then it stopped, just as suddenly. The silence that followed felt alive, a predator's pause. I didn't breathe until the captain whispered, "It's gone." But deep down, I knew it hadn't left. It was waiting, watching. And when I looked at the viewport again, the crack was gone, smooth, whole, except for one thing. My reflection was still there, but it wasn't breathing when we tried the ascent. The engines whined, the pressure valves screamed, and then failed. Something enormous wrapped around the station. You could feel it in the metal, like a heartbeat echoing through the hull. The captain ordered full reverse thrust. It didn't matter. The pressure outside rose, and every instrument went red. Then, impossibly, the water cleared. Through the viewport, we saw light, not the faint shimmer of lamps, but a vast, golden bloom rising from below. "It's Andre," Clara whispered. "He's bringing us up." But as the light grew, so did the shape within it. It wasn't a man. It wasn't anything we had words for. Dozens of faces drifted inside the glow, each one half familiar, the ones we'd lost, the ones we feared to become. And in the center, eyes, enormous, endless, old as the sea. The captain raised his gun, screaming for everyone to look away, but the light pulsed once, soft, irresistible, and he froze. Then he smiled. The pressure alarms flatlined. The habitat stopped shaking. I looked through the viewport and saw the captain floating outside, serene, drifting into the glow. The light faded, leaving only the black. Now, the station is quiet again. The walls no longer breathe, the water no longer knocks. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still feel the warmth of that light, and the whisper beneath it, gentle and patient. "Come back down." Days, or maybe weeks, passed after the captain was taken. We stopped keeping time. The clocks had started running backward anyway. Clara and I were the only ones left awake most nights. She said she could still hear the captain humming through the vents, a slow, tuneless murmur that never quite matched the rhythm of breathing. The others had changed. They still walked, still spoke, but there was nothing behind their eyes. When they blinked, it wasn't in unison with their breath anymore. Sometimes I caught them standing by the sealed airlock, their hands pressed flat against the door as though waiting for an answer. Clara wanted to surface. I told her the engines were gone. "We could still swim," she whispered. But even as she said it, we both looked toward the viewport. The trench waited, silent, black, infinite. I dreamed that night of floating weightless in that dark water, the habitat distant below me, glowing faintly like an eye closing. When I woke, Clara was gone. Only her headset remained, lying beside the airlock. It was still warm. I didn't check the logs. I didn't need to. She had gone to the light. The habitat feels hollow now. Every footstep echoes too long. Every sound carries just a little too far, as if the air itself wants to hold on to it. I try not to speak, not to breathe too loud. The walls remember. Sometimes I hear the voices whispering names. Not loud enough to understand, just the cadence, like a roll call from beneath the floor. The sonar hums without command. No shapes register anymore, only the endless spiral. It turns slowly, pulsing faintly, as if marking a rhythm I can almost recognize. My own heartbeat, lagging behind. I read Morales' journal again. Near the end, before his writing dissolved into frantic scratches, one line stood out. "They don't come from outside. They bloom inside." The words made sense in a way I didn't want them to. That night, the walls began to pulse, not with sound but with light. Faint veins of blue threading through the steel, alive and moving. When I pressed my ear to the metal, I heard something breathing inside. I think the trench isn't around us anymore. It's inside the station, inside me. They came back one by one. Not from outside, just from the shadows of the corridors, quiet, smiling. Dr. Varga first, his skin gray and damp, eyes unfocused. Then Anders, humming the same tune the captain used to hum. They didn't speak to me, not directly. They just went about their routines, slow and deliberate, pretending the station was still alive. When I asked where Clara was, Varga tilted his head and said, "She's helping us listen." The sound of knocking returned that night, not on the hull this time, but from inside the air ducts, slow, rhythmic, like a heartbeat through metal. I followed it until I reached the communications room. Every monitor glowed with the sonar spiral. Only this time, it wasn't turning. It was breathing. The others stood behind me, motionless. I could feel their warmth, too close, too still. Then the spiral on the screens pulsed once, and they all inhaled at the same time. I ran. The corridors seemed to stretch, the lights bending, the hum deepening into a sound I could feel in my bones. By the time I reached my bunk, I could hear them all whispering in unison, their voices weaving through the vents. They weren't speaking to me. They were speaking through me. The airlock hums again. The sound vibrates through the floor, gentle but constant, like a heartbeat under the skin. I've sealed myself in the command module. The cameras show nothing but static, yet every time the static flickers, I catch glimpses, faces, silhouettes, the faint shimmer of movement in the dark. The glow has returned outside, pulsing in time with the hum. I remember the commander's words. The airlock isn't silent, it listens. Now it's more than listening. It's calling. For hours, I've heard Clara's voice outside the door, calm and tender. "Elias," she says, "it's over. You don't have to fight it anymore." When I don't respond, she laughs softly. "You already opened it, Elias. You just haven't realized it yet." I look down at my hands, wet, trembling, covered in condensation that isn't mine. The monitors flicker again. The spiral returns, turning slower, slower, until it stops. Then, from the airlock, a single breath. In, out, and the soft whisper of the inner door sliding open. I don't remember walking into the airlock. One moment I was staring at the control panel, the next I was standing inside, helmet under my arm, listening to the hum of the ocean pressing against the steel. The outer door glows faintly now, tracing the outline of something vast beyond it. Not monstrous, not cruel, just inevitable. The voices outside are quiet, waiting. I think of Morales, of Andre, of the captain. I think of Clara's calm voice telling me it's all right to let go. Maybe the rules weren't warnings. Maybe they were instructions, ways to delay what was always meant to happen. I place my hand against the cold metal. The glow brightens, pulsing gently beneath my palm like a heartbeat meeting another. I hear it now, not as sound, but as memory. The first dive, the first silence, the first moment I felt small enough to be swallowed by wonder. The water isn't outside anymore, it's within. When I finally open the door, it doesn't feel like drowning. It feels like breathing. The light embraces me, soft, endless, patient. And as I drift into it, I hear the faintest echo carried through the dark. Rule 12. Never look away from the light. Then there is only stillness, and the sea remembering my name.